everyone, welcome back into the kitchen. So today is like day 2 or 3. Yesterday Danny was pretty sick, kind of out for the count, really tired, had the dry cough and a headache and a very mild fever, but his fever went down at night, which was awesome. So a lot of, I think, of what we were doing, just pumping him full of hydration, all of these foods and herbs and everything was really helping with that. He felt super supported at night, and then he slept really well and woke up feeling much better this morning. I'm feeling I have this like very mild headache. It's a little bit more predominant today, and I'm tired. So I just woke up from a nap, and that's a big part of this, is to sleep a lot. So I'm making dinner for us. Basically all the meals today have been in liquid form. Like I was saying before, liquid broths and soups are gonna be really important because you just wanna keep that hydration up, because you wanna keep flushing everything out. Also, a really great snack to have would be fruit. So I've had a lot of cantaloupe and blueberries and raspberries is what I've been snacking on. So again, really full of hydration. So what I'm making tonight for dinner is I'm using these shiitake mushrooms. They're dried. So this is something really good to have on hand. I just ordered a bunch of these on Amazon. I usually have dried shiitake in the pantry, but of course when I needed them I didn't. They came really fast and they're a really good brand. So dried mushrooms are awesome to always have in your pantry because they last forever. So what I did, and the easiest thing to do with them, is I brought this pot of water up to a boil, and I'm just gonna simply add the mushrooms into it. And they are gonna rehydrate, and as they're rehydrating in here, they are going to create their own broth. So that's how you can make a really simple mushroom broth in like 5 minutes, just by having dried mushrooms on hand. So yeah, I'm just gonna do 1 package. I have 2. I could do 2, but should I do 2? I'll do 2. I'll do 2. I'm gonna do 2 packages of them. Why not, right? And that's the thing I always say, when you're using food as medicine, more is more in this case. So I'm just gonna get all of them down there. And if you do this for just, maybe 15 minutes, you can chop up the mushrooms and eat the mushrooms as well. If you want a stronger broth, you could have them going for 45 minutes or an hour, but then the mushrooms themselves won't have that much flavor, so you might remove the mushrooms. So anyway, I'll probably just do it. It's on a really low heat for the duration of this, and pour everything in there so we're eating the mushrooms too. Oh, and something I should have done while the mushrooms were still dry is show you the reason we're using mushrooms in the first place. So I'm gonna let them cool. Okay, so mushrooms, you can see here at the shiitake, you see those little gills? They're literally called gills. Mushrooms, like food is medicine, it looks like the organ system that you're nourishing. It looks like the lungs, right? So that's the lungs of the mushrooms. Mushrooms have an affinity for the lungs. They're porous, and also what mushrooms do energetically is they grow on things to decompose things that don't die. So it's really good when you are dealing with something that you want to die off, like a virus, right? And it's in the lungs. You want that virus to die off, so mushrooms are going to help decompose and break that apart. So what we were also that's why mushrooms are so good. And also, last thing is, shiitake mushrooms are specifically fantastic for your immune system. That's what they're known for. They are like the magical immune system mushrooms. So that's shiitake, and they're edible, they're easy to cook with. You could have fresh ones as well. Dried is just easy to always have on hand. So I have this huge onion here. What I'm gonna do is I'm making kind of like, here, let me get my pot ready. I'm kind of making like a French onion soup, an Asian onion soup, I guess, because it's gonna have shiitake mushrooms as a broth. And I'm gonna put some sweet potato in here, garlic as well, of course, and then, like we've talked a lot about already, is thyme. So it's gonna be a mix of kind of a French onion soup, but with more of these like Asian flavors with it, because a a lot of this stuff is really so healing. So another thing when you are cooking when you are sick, so this is some avocado oil, it's really light. You could also use grapeseed oil or just a clear sesame oil. You wanna just do a little bit of oil, not so much, right? So we wanna, again, it's all about the hydration. The more that we're steaming and boiling and things, more than sauteing or roasting or frying or anything like that. The roasting, sauteing, and frying, that's more warming and it's gonna be holding things in. Again, like I was saying before, at the beginning of any sickness, you wanna be clearing, so you want things to be in a raw form or liquid-based and things like that. I just need a little bit to get these onions going, but really it's gonna be about cooking them down in the broth. So I got that one. Look at how you, this is the other half. So just slicing these. So onions, like we said yesterday, are so good for the lungs in general, for the intestines too, right? Because our gut has all of those amazing bacteria, and our immune system is in our gut, but our immune system is also here in the thymus, and that's right here around the lungs. And in Ayurveda, we're looking at the fourth chakra when it comes to this virus, right? It's our heart, it's our lungs, it's our thymus, which creates the fighter T cells. It's this area here that we really want to take care of. So the onions are so good for that. And white colored foods as well. White is the color, according to Chinese medicine, of the lung element. So anything white is gonna help. Onions and garlic and even something like cauliflower, right? Okay, of course, here's some beautiful garlic. Hopefully I can peel some of these quickly. So garlic, of course, is antiviral. It's also antibacterial. I always say it's nature's antibiotic, but just a little side note on that, a virus doesn't take an antibiotic, because antibiotic is only for bacterial things, right? So that's why with this virus, we want more antivirals. And like we were talking about yesterday, one of our favorite antivirals for a lung virus is thyme. So that's what it's known for, and it's been known for thousands of years in Chinese medicine. And I'm crying right now because these onions are really strong. So while I'm talking about thyme, I'm just gonna put, you know, a good teaspoon or so in there, right? We're going really, big doses on thyme. All right, oh, it smells so good already. We're gonna salt it a bit. Salting the onions a bit helps to pull out that moisture. It helps them saute or sweat, but right now I kind of want them to sweat down, and I'll show you really quickly what that looks like. And then we have the mushrooms going over there. Okay, so we got that. I'm getting this garlic peeled. So obviously you want to go onion and garlic crazy. Garlic in its raw form is going to be much hotter. It's going to bring a lot more heat, right? So when you're dealing with a fever, that's heat, the body heating up to kill off any pathogens. Garlic can help in that way. So at the beginning, it can be good to do more of the raw to kind of help the body, so the body doesn't have to use up its energy to create more heat. The garlic can kind of do that for you. All right, so we got that going in there. All right, turn that up just a little bit more. And then we have sweet potato. So I'm putting them in here to create a little bit, because I do have a little bit more of an appetite. Danny didn't yesterday at all, which is great. When you're sick, you actually don't want to eat too much because you want to allow your body to do the hard work of focusing on getting whatever it is out and not focusing on digesting. Digesting is a really big job that the body has to do. So that's also why having just lots of liquids is really helpful. I've still, and it might be because I'm breastfeeding, I've still, had quite an appetite. So I'm putting in sweet potato, which is really nourishing, and it is a starch. but it's not as starchy as like a regular potato or grains, right? And I said yesterday, we want to avoid the grains and things because those are more building and warming. And again, like we said, we want to be doing more of this clearing action. So anyway, sweet potato is kind of in its own family. So you can kind of look at it more as a vegetable than it's a tuber technically. It's not a potato. Okay. And it's so high in like beta carotene and all these amazing things. So you're getting a ton of nutrition from them and antioxidants, right? Look at how bright orange that is. So bright colors are really good. The gazpacho that I made earlier today is bright green. Again, going back to Ayurveda with the fourth chakra is green, so anything of that color is going to help with it. So that's really, really good too. And it's high in antioxidants, right? Colors are. And so what that does is any cell damage that's happening, it will help repair it. So even though the people who've been sick actually with any virus in the past and it kind of lingers, right? That's showing that you didn't repair the body properly, or potentially you suppressed the body so much with like cough syrup or any medicines, right? If you suppress too much, it actually goes deeper into the body and it will lengthen out the amount of time that you have it. When you're sick, you want it to be as short as possible, right? And even if sometimes it puts you on your butt, you want it to be short as possible because then you'll get through it easier. If you start suppressing with cough syrup or NyQuil or anything like that, it's gonna lengthen it out and it'll go deeper into the body. And so then you'll end up having a cough or something like that for weeks, or even sometimes people are saying for months. And then that's showing too that it's disrupted the gut as well when it gets to that point. So do the best you can and not take any of those things if you can, because you just want to use food as your medicine to really get through it. And if you are having like the headache that we've been having is pretty intense, ginger, and I'll show you in another video, but just grate fresh ginger and make a tea out of it. That is going to be the best. So while this is going, I just wanted to show you really quick another thing that we were doing, because thyme is so amazing. It literally says on this thyme tincture, respiratory system, right? Because that's how good it is. It's known to be good for the respiratory system. So this is a tincture. That just means that thyme has been soaked in alcohol or vegetable glycerin, either one. So you just take a full dropper full, and we've been doing this morning, noon, and night. You can take it to 4 times a day. I'm gonna fill a little bit of water. And when I say a little bit of water, I literally mean that. And it's good also to do it in between meals. So unlike medicine where you wanna take it with meals because it's so harsh, herbals you actually wanna take in between meals because you want the body to absorb it quicker and it's not interfering with any food. And you don't want to dilute it that much because you want it to go through and be really nice and strong. So cheers to that. So I have that going. Okay, and then I'm just going to talk about this seaweed that's going to go in here. So this is wakame. Wakame is the seaweed that you find in like miso soup, right? So when it's dried like that. And I'm putting seaweed in here for what we were talking about yesterday as well, is that seaweed is kind of slimy, so it's got that mucilage. When you have a dry cough, you want to be bringing in moisture, right? And so it's gonna have, aloe is something else that's really good. Okra is really good as well. Again, the onions and garlic have that mucilage. So that's really gonna help the mucosa in the lungs, which is usually lacking with this type of virus. And you want a good mucosa lining, not too much, but because that will help get things out of the body. So that's one thing that seaweed really does well. It also pulls heavy metals and toxins out of the body. So viruses like to cling on to heavy metals. We live in a very toxic environment of heavy metals everywhere, right? Whether it's in the cleaning supplies that we're using, all this stuff, it's, lead and mercury and, it's in the plastics that we're touching, it's, everywhere. So in the tap water, unfortunately, things like that. So this helps pull heavy metals out of the body, so then the virus can't hold on to them. When the virus does, that's where the heavy metals can actually prevent the half-life from happening. So everything has a half-life, which means it starts to die off exponentially, right? So if it doesn't have a half-life, it will continue to live on like this. So having high levels of metal in the body is not a good thing. Anyway, that's what seaweed helps you with. Also, like we've said before, seaweed is so high in just natural sodium, magnesium, chlorophyll. It's a vegetable of the sea. It's absolutely beautiful. So this is sauteed. We're pretty good to go on that. I would just like to see what that looks like, right? So it's nice and sauteed, not too brown, right? We're not really browning it. We don't want to do that. And then I'm going to turn that off. So I have my mushrooms right here. I'm just going to pour the whole thing in. Am I? No, I'm not. Sorry. I'm making up these recipes as I go along because it's stuff that I have on hand mostly. I'm actually going to take the shiitakes out so that I can chop them up because it's just going to be a little bit too much of a mouthful if they're not chopped up. Okay. So now we will pour the broth in here. Awesome. Okay. So mushroom broth is in there, right? So we will continue cooking until the sweet potato is cooked and is soft and is falling apart. You know, you can just break it with a fork. Okay, and then we will also add like a handful of wakame, a heaping handful of wakame in there. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna rehydrate, so it'll turn back into the seaweed wakame that you're used to seeing. And it's also, all of its nutrients are gonna impart into the broth itself. So you're not gonna lose any of it. So that is in there. That'll be good. And then, yeah, these are a little hot right now, but once they cool down, I'm gonna chop these up and add them back in. And then this is gonna be our dinner tonight, right? So very liquid based, tons of healing foods in here, really gentle too, right? And I'm gonna put the lid on this as well so we don't lose too much liquid. And this type of cooking is just really, really light. It's gonna keep things flowing through. And then I'll probably serve it with a little bit of kimchi on top. So kimchi, like we've talked a lot about, we have a recipe in our cookbook for it that you can make at home, but it's just fermented cabbage with some chili powder and ginger and garlic and all of these healing things that have been fermented, which will help our gut. So again, we're working with the thymus a lot here because it's this fourth chakra area, but also we want to work with the gut and probiotics. So this is really high in probiotics, and you want it to be raw and cold, which means it's never been cooked, so everything is still in there. So that is how you do a very healing type of soup that we'll have for dinner, and then we'll probably have it for either breakfast or lunch tomorrow and just keep eating it. So yeah, so stay tuned, and we'll check back in tomorrow and I'll show you some more tips. All right, see ya.